Hello everyone, this is Professor Lindbergh. Just want to take a few minutes to go over your Triangle Fire essay instructions. To locate your Triangle Fire essay instructions, you can go to the assignments link on your main menu, or you can access it through a link on your module. Alright, so when you go to your assignment, this is what it looks like. At the top you'll have your essay prompt, which will provide you instructions about the essay. I have it in two different formats, both a document format and a PDF format, and I will go over this prompt in just a few minutes. I also provided you an essay tutorial. This is in a PowerPoint format as well as a PDF format, and it's just a few tips on essay writing in general, such as how to write a thesis statement. I've also provided instructions regarding the citation style, and for this essay you will be using the MLA style. I provided a link to Purdue OWL as well as a link to the Palomar College Library citation guide. So make sure you take a look at that if you are confused about how to use MLA citation style. I think most of you are fairly familiar with it, but if you're not, make sure that you look on both of these sites for help. And then I provided a note here about the MLA citation style, particularly when it comes to citing sources from a website, and I'll explain that in a minute when I go over the essay prompt. I provided a link to a Triangle Fire website, which you will be using for this essay. I've also included that in the essay prompt. And a Triangle Fire film, which you will need to access through the Palomar College Library website. You will need to use your username and password to be able to access that website. So you will need to go through them to watch it. It's about a little over 50 minutes long. 54, a little over 54 minutes long. Okay, so let's take a look at the prompt. Okay, at the top it says, based on your review of the provided course materials, your U.S. History textbook, the Triangle Fire website, and film, answer the following essay question. Your essay should be a minimum of 5 pages, but no more than 6. Be sure to make specific reference to and cite specific examples from your course materials and analysis as evidence to support your answer. When I say 5 pages, but no more than 6, that does that does not include your works cited page. So 5 pages of actual content. Your essay question is explain the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. What happened? Also describe the lives and conditions of wage-earning women garment workers at the turn of the 20th century and how the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire was a catalyst for reform. What I mean by that is, how did it change things? Here, I want you to address every question. So make sure you answer all parts of the question. And it may be helpful to organize your essay in accordance with different parts of the question. That's up to you. Your required sources, you need to select 5 sources from the primary sources link on the Triangle Fire website. And I have provided the link here as well as on the assignment itself. So you want to access this. So this is what it looks like. For the 5 required sources, you're going to use the primary sources. So you can select any of the 5, select any 5 sources from this link. Make sure you're on the primary sources link. You have letters. It basically gives accounts of what happened, their experiences. You have testimonials. You have newspapers and magazines, reports, letters, all types of sources here that you have access to. So select the 5 that you want to use. And as far as the rest of the essay, you may also use, and you will need to use, uh, different pages on this website. The story of the fire, victims and witnesses, supplemental resources. You can use any of this in your essay, but the 5 required sources has to come from this particular page here. So keep that in mind. There's also audio recordings and so forth. With respect to the citation of the sources, you have to cite all of your sources. So for this essay, you're primarily going to be using this website and the Triangle Fire film that I provided. I don't have a lot of information in the textbook. There's a little bit about the Triangle Fire in that, and you're welcome to use that, but there's not a lot. And I don't cover it in the lectures or any of the lectures. And keep in mind, the Triangle Fire takes place during the Progressive Era. So the information that I provide in the Progressive Era is related to it, but I don't talk about the Triangle Fire in my lecture. So you're going to primarily use your website and film. But you will need to cite everything. If you use an excerpt from the textbook, you need to cite the textbook. In this case, it would be an e-book, an e-textbook. If you cite the website, you need to cite it as a website. As for citing websites and the content on those websites, if you're using, let's say, a letter on the primary sources link, you want to cite that as a page on a website. In other words, it's a web page on a website. So that's when you're looking for how to cite that on Purdue OWL or whatever you're using. You want to make sure that that's the way you cite it. Make sure to include the URL. Okay. In your essay, you will need to include an introduction. The introduction does not mean you need to start putting in your evidence. An introduction is really a short introduction into your essay. It's where you kind of lay out what you're going to talk about, maybe the sources you used. You can even mention the progressive era if you'd like from the progressive era lecture, just however you want to do it, but not very long. And don't start making your argument in the introduction. In the introduction, you will also include your thesis. And your thesis is basically your answer to the source question. This kind of a 1 or 2 sentence thesis statement that summarizes your answer. And I've provided a little bit of help with that on your essay tutorial. So take a look at that if you don't know how to write a thesis statement. Okay. And you'll always want to put your thesis statement at the end of the introduction. Some people put it at the beginning. I prefer it at the end. And I want you to underline it so I know that's your thesis statement. So be sure to underline your thesis statement. Okay, in this essay, I want you to think for yourself. Answer the question with your own brain power, in your own words. Don't just do a lot of quoting. Sometimes there is a place to quote that's just, you can't say it any other way and you've got to say it this way. That's fine. Something, specific. But for the most part, you need to explain this in your own words. And even though you're explaining it in your own words, you still have to cite sources. So if you think about it, when you get this information, you're getting it from somewhere. You're getting it from the film, you're getting it from the website. You need to cite that. And this is not a research paper. So don't go to the internet looking for history.com or whatever it is some of you guys like to use. This is not a research paper. This is very specific to these course materials. And make sure you do use the 5 required primary sources and make sure they're well cited, because if I can't find them in your essay, then you won't get credit for them, and you don't want to lose out on points because you cited them poorly. And if you if you don't use those primary sources and you start using outside sources, I will dock you points for that. And make sure you prove your point, meaning, write a thesis statement and provide ample evidence from your sources. Avoid any personal sentiments, meaning, don't use the first person and such as, I believe, or I think, or this was horrible, or I feel that. Um, I know that you feel, I know the information. So just state the information. Don't say, I believe that it looked like this. Or if this were an opinion paper, I would tell you otherwise. But this is based on sources. So just make an academic argument by answering the question and providing evidence. This is not opinion. Make sure you write clearly and carefully. Just have someone edit it or edit it yourself, and then have your mom or your roommate or whatever, whoever it is, edit it for you. Think it, does every sentence make sense? Um, if you need help organizing your paper, I don't know how much access you have to the Writing Center, given that we are all online during COVID. But if there is any access, you're welcome to talk to them. You're also welcome to talk to me, talk to each other about, if we happen to, know each other online, you're welcome to do that. But be careful if you're working with another person, because you don't want to be accused of plagiarism in any way. You want to make sure you spelling, capitalization, syntax. Some people have problems with capitalization at times. Make sure that you're capitalizing in the right way. Make sure you edit your paper for spelling and grammar, etc. Follow standard formatting. Your essay should be, I say typewritten, that may sound like an archaic word, but it's not handwritten. In other words, you're going to type it up on, a Word doc or Google Docs or whatever it is you use. Use Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spaced with 1-inch margins. You want to submit this as a Word document or a PDF. The problem with submitting it as a PDF document is that I can't write on your document when you submit it to Canvas. It doesn't allow me to do that. So if you submit it in Word, then I can put comments directly into your submission. But if you submit it in PDF, I can't. I can just use the rubric in the feedback box, but I can't actually put information in your document. So keep that in mind when you're submitting your essay. If you use Google Docs, save it as a Word doc or a PDF doc, unless you're going to provide me a link that has access. But the problem with providing a Google Docs link, sometimes students don't provide me access, and it takes too long to try to get requesting access. And so if you're going to do that, make sure that you requested access, that I have access to it, that I don't have to chase you down for it. But easier way is just to save it as a Word doc or a PDF doc. That way it'll submit properly into Canvas. Do not use Pages in Apple. For whatever reason, Canvas does not like Pages. It doesn't recognize it. So do not use Pages. The essay due date is right here. So make sure you submit it on time. I do have a late essay policy, so make sure you take a look at that in my syllabus. The gist of it is you can submit late, but you do get deducted points for it. But I don't accept late essays past 2 full days, meaning 24-hour periods. So it's basically 15 points per day. So if you're running out of time and you feel confident you'd write a better essay and you need to submit it late, that's fine, but just recognize that it is a 15-point deduction that's starting at 15 points. So you would start at, say, an 85, and then whatever you lose points on, if you lose any from there. But my preference is you submit it on time, but that policy is available to you if you need to use it. And you don't need to tell me either that you're going to be submitting late. It will just be available to you late, or that option will be available to you. That's what I mean. All right, so that is your essay prompt. So that is your essay prompt. I've also provided a Triangle Fire essay rubric. And this is just a breakdown of what I'm looking for in the essay, as well as how I have allocated points. So make sure that you read through the rubric before writing your essay as well. If you have any questions, please let me know. And that is all.